Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, worshippers of all ages, welcome to YouTube. My name is SeaRaptor, and today we're bringing you a battle report from the bridge of Tier 6 Japanese heavy cruiser, Aoba. I've been regrinding the Japanese cruiser line. I got done with the Brits, and I said, here's a line I haven't played in, over 4 years. Zhao was my very, very first Tier 10 ship way back in late 2015. And I haven't really, I still play these ships, but I haven't really kind of progressed through the line the way you should in a while. And I thought, what the hell? Especially since I had the incentive of picking up some Research Bureau points for the trouble. And of course, now we know that Research Bureau points are going to be necessary for some of the fancy unique upgrade system, the revamp that's coming. We don't know much more about it, but we know we're going to need these points. And I thought, what the hell? So I've been working on this particular line. Started with Furutaka. You may have seen some videos around the channel, me playing Furutaka, me playing Aoba on stream. But this game was particularly decent. Of course, here I am. You can see here spawning on the north side of Haven and bottom tier. Now, as a bottom tier cruiser, you're never excited to see aircraft carriers. And it's even worse here because I'm an Aoba, right? Japanese cruisers in general don't have great anti-aircraft capabilities. There's a handful of exceptions. Zhao, potentially, if you spec her right. I'd say Yoshino and possibly Azuma fall into that category. But like almost every other tech tree, Japanese cruiser doesn't really have much AA to write home about. So here I am looking at Tier 8 planes and a bottom tier heavy cruiser that already has crappy AA, and I'm like, well, let's just see what happens. So starting off here, I tend to not push up very quickly in a heavy cruiser. Like you see, if you watch me play heavy cruisers, you watch me play the Germans, the Brits, the Japanese, whoever, anybody's heavy cruisers, I will play it very cautiously early. I want to know more about the enemy team, how they're deploying, where are they going. And you see that here. The enemy carrier, the spotting we got out of our carrier, you can kind of look at the minimap there and start to see they look like they're all kind of lemming training to the other side of the map. So I'm like, all right, well, let's get this going. Let's not screw around. This Budioni up ahead, who's the only thing that we've even got spotted, really. He's in range, but I can't hit him over the island. Is just getting absolutely hammered by my team. I've got 2 destroyers up here that have picked up the cap circle. And because I'm detected, you see me there, my detection window pops up, my detection marker pops up. I know there's a destroyer out here somewhere on the 8-9 line. I don't know where he is, but I know he's out there somewhere. So I'm kind of trying to warn the carrier a little bit and maybe get his attention, be like, hey, why don't you go look for this guy? He's probably all by himself. The Budioni's running away. Who was over here? The Le Terrible here, right off my starboard bow, starboard quarter here, is basically going to do me a kind of some favor. He's going to run out there at high speed, and eventually we're going to find this guy. But for the moment, I know he's there. I'm kind of messing with my throttle. I'm messing with my steering. I'm just trying to make sure that I don't eat a massive torpedo salvo from someone that I can't even see. And of course, sure enough, there they are. Now, the double racks of 4 tells me that we know actually, you can look at the map and tell we know it's the Akatsuki, right? The T-61 and the Bliss were both spotted around B, and sure enough, there he is. He opens up on the Le Terrible, but I'm also here, and, my guns aren't chump change, kids. These Japanese HE shells hit pretty hard when you land them in the right place. So, we start in trying to help him out. He smokes very quickly, though. Sorry, trying to help out my Le Terrible. The Aki smokes very quickly. The Terrible, to his credit, does not hesitate, doesn't slow down, continues to push this guy. And I think some of that is because I'm here, there's a Cleveland behind me, there's a Bayern behind me. We've got a lot more firepower here. This Akatsuki is very, very alone. So this is our chance. We need to get up in his face and crush him. You see there, my detection marker pops up again. That tells me he's out of smoke. That means he ran south. So I will immediately put hard over right to the right, get my gun slipped around to the left, because he's going to have to be running down the 9-10 line, basically trying to stay away from us, because as soon as he's spotted again, we're going to be all over him. But for the moment, we can't see him. We just know he's out there. The smoke is obviously between him and the Le Terrible. So, in the meantime, our friendly Saipan has polished off the Budionis. Both teams on a kill. 5 minutes gone here. And things are kind of setting up like we're going to have to do some pushing over here. If you read the tactical situation on the minimap, you can see there's not really a whole lot of firepower keeping us out of D. In fact, our friendly Fubuki will probably be into the cap in the next 2 minutes. But they're all at B, so we're going to have to keep moving here and keep some pressure on. Tarib has the Aki spotted again, so it's time to pitch in and help end this conversation. You can see the Cleveland from behind me, also pitching in with his shells, trying to get the lead right. Now, early on, this Tareeb is not trading very well, but the Cleveland starts landing some shells, and finally, eventually, at long last, I land some shells, and I'm going to land another. My next salvo is actually the really good one. Like, right now, they're about even on HP, about 9k a pop, but these Japanese HE shells do good work right here. That pretty much takes the Aki out of this fight, and there he goes. The trouble is that the little Tareeb gave up a ton of his health to make this play, and the Implacable is going to make him pay for it, because, of course, Tareeb has no AA to speak of. And before the Implacable can even get there, the fires on the Aki burn him down. Now, we're down a ship, right? They're down the Aki and the Budyoni that had the misfortune to come over here. But we've lost more ships the other way until the Baltimore there picks up the Bliskavica and kind of even things out a bit. But you can see our battleships cutting through that gap along the 4-5 line. They're leaving A in a gosh-awful hurry. The last surviving enemy destroyer, this T-61, has returned to try and defend his cap. He's the only one even attempting this. So kudos to him for realizing what's happening. And it's actually an advantageous fight for him because of, his hydro and everything gives him a bit of a leg up on this Fubuki. But the difference is that the T-61 doesn't have any help, and the Fubuki has got me. Now, I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but that's just the fact that he's got another teammate around helping him out makes a huge impact. The Implacable sees what's going on, brings his rocket planes back, trying to stall this out. But Fubuki, to his credit, is playing a smart game, using the smoke, using the island cover to try and keep these guys at bay. I think he's probably on hydro. If he's not, he will be shortly, as the Implacable is bringing in a rocket strike. I'll do what I can here with my AA and my planes. But yeah, the T-61 must have him lit up on hydro. But again, these HE shells are going to do some real work here, as we've got to, I'm just backing up my friendly Fubuki here. Get the guns on target, and, well, bye. It cost the Fubuki a lot of HP, but he's still in the game for the moment. So now this is quickly going to become an east-west fight, which is a very interesting turn of events on Haven. You don't normally see teams do this, but they have. You can see their their left flank hooking around. They'll be into A momentarily with a Nuremberg and an Albemarle, backed up by a Bayern. Our Baltimore's trying to get his ship out of there. I don't believe he's going to be successful. In the meantime, the Fubuki and I are going to get on this cap circle and start harassing these laggard battleships that are still at the bottom end of B, including the enemy Nelson. Now, the Implacable, to his credit, he's somewhere down along the J line, somewhere, and he realizes the predicament that this cap circle is in, but there's two of us here now. He's going to have a bit of a challenge. My goal is to draw some heat off the Fubuki. There's the Implacable appearing now on the minimap. You can see him due south of us. I'm trying to bait the Implacable into targeting me, partly because I have some HP to give up here, and the Fubuki really doesn't. He gets some rockets off, no big deal. I'm looking for fires on these battleships, and mainly I'm trying to get their attention focused elsewhere. If their guns are looking at me, they're not looking at the battleships that we have sitting in the sea cap. Right now, my focus is get the cap, get the cap, get the cap. I'm not even worried about the Implacable yet, mostly because the Implacable, I don't consider him nearly as big a threat to me as these battleships. I mean, Raptor, what were you talking about? You were talking about earlier, like, you don't like being in a game with CVs as a bottom-tier Japanese cruiser. Well, I don't. I don't like it because he's basically going to get free strikes on me. But this is an Implacable. Like, he can't, other than the torpedo bombers, he doesn't have anything that can it's a really big threat to me. You can see there he landed a decent rocket salvo. But that's going to take time, right? I still have defensive fire. I've still got some charges of planes. And at this point, we're up 3 ships. I really need to try and keep him off the Fubu, a job that I'm failing at right now. But that's my goal. My goal was to burn down these battleships. They're a bigger threat in the long haul. And try and help this Fubu keep him in the game as long as I can. He puts a great torpedo salvo there into the Nelson, by the way. That kind of justifies some of my decision. But what he needs to do is he needs to get behind me, and he hasn't done that. He's kind of up here alongside me. It's going to eventually cost him his ship. Staying on this Nelson, I know the Nelson's DCP is down. We watched it happen, and we watched him hit his fancy repair button. So I'm trying to get him lit with some fires again in the hopes that those guys in B will start punishing him. But now the Nagato becomes a more immediate threat. He's moving back this direction. The Nelson's guns aren't even looking at me, whereas the Nagato is. And I realized that I need to be spending more time focused on the Nagato. So we start changing our targets here. One of these disabled turrets is a real irritating problem. Turret disables happen all the time to these Japanese heavy cruisers. They only have 25 millimeters of armor on these turrets, especially in tier 6 and 7. So you're going to spend, like, HE shells will disable your turrets sometimes. And it's irritating, but it happens. You just got to live with it. Do manage to bag another fire on the Nelson as we bring our guns in on the Nagato. Now this guy, I'm playing throttle games here. I'm trying to, like, he can see me moving. He knows I'm moving at him, but he doesn't know how fast. So I'm intentionally trying to kind of throw off his aim by not moving at full speed. Most battleship players, when you give them a bow on target, will assume that you're moving full speed and they'll aim accordingly. But if you adjust a little bit, then sometimes they miss. Now that was just a bad shot. I think dispersion kind of messed with him there. As Implacable comes with a torpedo strike, and I'm like, well, my guns are this way, let's just take it. But take the shot, but he doesn't get anything out of that torpedo run. At this point, this is probably a bit of a mistake, right? I shouldn't be showing the Nagato this shot. I probably should have just eaten the torpedoes because the Nagato is a far bigger threat to end my game quickly than the Implacable is. This is the salvo I expect to wreck me, and nope, dispersion trolls him as we get a second fire burning. He'll be off the board momentarily as he becomes kill number 2. So now, finally, after minutes and minutes of dodging planes, we can start dealing with this Implacable. The strategic situation is not amazing, right? They're on A. We can't stop them. They will cap A momentarily. The Nelson is about to get into B. C, that's going to stop those points. So now both teams are ticking up a cap, and we only have a one-ship lead. So we need these points. We need to kill this Implacable because we need the points this ship represents. The bombs get a fire, but not a whole lot of pen damage, as I'm trying to get my stern turned around and start hitting this guy properly. Now, it looks like, using his auto waypoint driving system, he's come to a full stop again. So that's allowing me to close the distance a little bit. I'm going to be inside of 10 kilometers shortly. But I'm not going to be able to really bring my torpedoes to bear on this guy, simply because I'm in a stern chase, right? By the time he starts moving away from me, my torpedoes simply will not catch him at this range. If he was 6 kilometers out, I might try it. But at 9.5 kilometers, there's no point in me firing my torpedoes. He'll be long gone by the time they could possibly catch him. He's bringing the torpedo planes back yet again. So we put up our last fighter. I'm basically going all out. I'm not sparing any of my consumables at this point because this carrier has to die. If I lose to this carrier, we're probably going to lose this game. So this guy needs to go, and I'm betting it all on this. I'm not holding back any of my consumables. He comes in for the strike, and we would take one in the bow, except it doesn't arm in time. Now, you see he's turned north here, coming up the 2 line. This is a mistake. At this point, I probably could have engaged my torpedoes. I could have come back to starboard. You see, I'm continuing to turn back to starboard. I probably could have held this turn, gotten my torpedoes off. But in the end, I decide it's just simpler for me to keep the HE going. And I actually swap to the AP here. I've got a beautiful angle. He's trying to turn back the other way, but my guns are going to reload, and he's still got a Citadel, in there somewhere. And, well, so much for that. Now that's a kill that we badly needed because our Gneiss has died. The Nelson is being harassed by our Sarpan, but he's still alive. They still have 2 battleships up, whereas it's just me, the Cleveland, and our carrier. We have a lead, but I wouldn't call it a comfortable one, given that, well, we're tied on ships and they have a decided health advantage. So now the Cleveland and I know what we have to do. We have to get into B, we have to cap B. This is the last surviving squadron that the Implacable has available because, these guys were off his deck when he died, so he gets to drive them around as long as he can. And he's going to get some bomb runs off on me. I'll take a little more damage. It'll hurt. Life goes on. Just trying to maneuver, keep my focus, my sector focuses up and do what I can here, make his life a little more difficult, but in the end, there's pretty much nothing I can do. He's going to get some more damage on me, and that's just all there is to it. Our Saipan, to his credit, realizes that Nelson has now sailed out of that cap, and Saipan is continuing to focus him. Tirpitz is... I question this Tirpitz position. I feel like the Tirpitz is in a bad spot. What I really need, what I really want to find is we really want to get eyes on this Atago. The Saipan does finally polish off the Nelson. We have a ship lead again. Health gap is narrowed. This feels a hell of a lot better. Cleveland and I just can't get dev struck by this Tirpitz. And if we can find the Atago and pick him off, that will be ideal. But first, got to get into B. We're taking up points faster than they are, but let's keep the pressure on. The way this game kind of unfolded for me is almost like reckless aggression in a Japanese cruiser. You typically do not find yourself pushing in a Japanese cruiser. But the side of the map that I had chosen and the kind of strategic situation on the board, I kind of had no choice. Like this was what the game required that I do for us to have a shot at victory. So that's what we did. The Atago looks like he's slowing down. He's showing me a great angle, so I bust out the AP, figuring maybe I can get some citadels out of this. Like, I'm not sure why he's stopping precisely. It seems ill-advised with me and the Cleveland down here able to hit him. But that's what he's doing, so all right, well, we'll just keep taking shots. Sooner or later, we'll bag him, I'm sure. He's getting pretty low. And, well, between the sit and the Cleveland shell, off he goes. So now the Tirpitz is the last surviving member of the enemy team. And all we have to do at this point is simply not die. 60 seconds on the timer. The game will end in that amount of time, no matter what we do, as long as we don't die anyway. But I mean, you know, like, why let good damage go to waste? So I bring the starboard torps around. We know he's obviously pushing for the sea cap. So let's pull up the torpedoes and kind of dump them in that general direction. Like, why not? And if the Saipan will spot him, like so, I have a gap here in this little island chain. Bam. Get a few shells through. Maybe we'll bag a fire. Be nice. Take a little more chip damage on our way out the door. He's down to 30 seconds. He can't win. We're gonna bag this game as we do pick up yet another fire. As time ticking away, and this will end up being a win. Now, the nice thing about this game is not, like, to me, it doesn't really highlight any particularly unique traits of the ship, other than the fact that these 203mm HE shells hit really hard. Like, they're really good. But for me, what I really want to point out is that heavy cruisers can have a tremendous amount of impact in a game, right? Like, these guys, once I was in their backfield, they had to deal with me. And the overarching theme, like, I ordinarily would not have played an Aoba in kind of an aggressive, pushy fashion, especially with her torpedo angles being as stern-focused they are. There's not really something you can get out of them. She's better, like Miyoko, Aoba. They're better ships at kiting the enemy, playing a team where the enemy's pushing into you. However, with that said, I wanted to demonstrate that, especially with Aoba's turret arrangement, she's got these 4 guns forward. You can use her a little more aggressively if the situation calls for it, and the tactical situation kind of favors you. And it did here, really. Those battleships, the Nagato, the Nelson that I ran into in the mid-game, were focused elsewhere. The Nagato eventually turned around to kind of deal with me, but I had some help, right? We got some torpedoes into him. Carrier helped out a little bit. The Cleveland helped out. The Gneisenau helped out. And we managed to get him off the board before he ended my game. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed with that one. I've got plenty of other kind of Japanese cruiser regrind videos going on the channel right now. Enjoy those. Be safe out there, and I'll catch you next time.